Hello everyone, welcome back to another Goodgame Empire video. In this video, I will be telling you about attacking. Now, a couple basic things to remember. First, melee attackers are always going to be better at defending against melee attackers, and ranged defenders are always going to be better at defending against ranged attackers. This will always hold true. Melee attackers are always going to be best at attacking ranged defenders, because remember, ranged defenders are more powerful against ranged attackers, so they're weak to melee attackers. If the enemy is defending with a lot of melee defenders, then ranged attackers will be the way to go, because again, melee defenders are powerful against melee attackers, but weak against ranged attackers. This is a simple mechanic that most players already know, but I thought I'd say it anyway, just to make sure everyone is on the same ground here. Now, I will be doing up a sample attack against a foreign or castle, and sharing my thoughts as to how I set up the attack. Now, as we can see, this foreigner has 11 wall, so I am going to put 11 scaling ladders in here. That will reduce the wall to 0. Now, I could have put 10 because the last tool in here isn't going to do full, but I find that my troops are more valuable than one wooden ladder. So now, I need to find my battering rams, which should be somewhere. And I was just an idiot because I need either moat tools or mantlets, not battering rams, because battering rams you only ever use in the central. So let's see. We could reduce moat protection, or we could reduce ranged soldiers' defense. I'm going to go with reducing their defense because they have 50% or so ranged here. So doing that will be a huge increase, and even with that extra 2.5 times defensive strength, because it's 1.5 moat plus the base combat strength, it's still going to be worth it to get rid of their ranged soldiers. So as you can see, I put some antlet down. If they had more melee soldiers and less ranged soldiers, then putting the mantlets to reduce the ranged soldiers' defense strengths to nothing wouldn't be as worth it as putting moat tools. But they don't have more melee soldiers, so I'm going to stick with what I did. Now if we look at the other flank, it is basically the same, only with slightly more melee. I am still going to go and reduce the ranged soldiers' defense strength, because unless there is about twice as much melee as there is ranged or more, you are still going to have an easier time if you use mantlets. If there's more than twice as much melee on the wall as ranged, you're going to want to use moat tools. Again, 156 wall. So how many ladders am I using? 16. Now, on the gate, there's no defenders, so no need to place tools. We can just put our demon hollows there. Again, I'm going ranged on this flank because these ranged defenders will be negated by my mantlets, so all I'm going to be facing is melee defenders, which are weak to ranged attackers. Now, here's where you have to figure out, is it worth adding in a second wave of attackers? Because in some situations, it won't be. Because if you look here, I could probably get away with just one wave of attackers, because I have 74 units on the flank and I'll be facing 72. And my Shadow King has 85 melee, whereas the Defender only has 85 melee. My ranged defenders will have 98 attack power, and the defenders will have 65, although they will get the moat bonus. I am going to play it safe and do a second wave, but you don't have to do this. You can always just do one wave of tools against the foreigners if you think you can kill them in the first wave. Another important concept to explain is it's relatively simple, but also important if you don't already know. Your units attack in waves, as I've already talked about. The first wave attacks first, and that's also the first one you set up. Clicking this arrow will allow you to set up your second wave, and so on. You usually only need tools in the first and second waves against weak foreigner castles like this. Now, should I add any glory flags? That's a tough question, because there's actually not that many units in this castle, but I am going to be using normal banners. Just to get some amount of glory. Not a huge amount, so I'll just put them in the central. Next, after this, I'll be showing you how to send a real PvP attack against another player. So as you can see, I think I have made my tools as best I can, and I can go send off the attack now. Let's have it use a fast travel vessel, which is always a good idea on foreigners as they can change their defense. And let's focus on looting wood, because I need wood at the moment. So, actually, should I do the Wobble Baron tutorial first? Because I want to do a Wobble Baron and a PvP. So, I think I'll just show you how to attack a Wobble Baron, because I can do that really quickly. Because, although it's really easy, there are some things that you might mess up. You can win this just by clicking autofill. However, that's a terrible idea. Now let me tell you why. For a Wobble Baron, you're not going to want to use any extra tools. In fact, the best way of killing this Wobble Baron would just be doing this. Find your weakest group, least valuable thing that you don't care if he dies or takes any casualties. Send him off. As long as you have enough wall reduction to reduce their wall protection, you're going to be fine, because they don't have moats. Also gate protection you need to reduce. This commander has plenty of wall and gate reduction. Now, I am going to find a player, and here we go. Let's pretend I'm going to attack this player. I'm not actually going to, but I'll prepare to attack him in the tutorial. How would I go about attacking someone like this? First, let's take a look at their Castellan. It's actually rather weak. Let's make sure I'm using a proper PvP commander. I could be using my Shadow King. In fact, if I was actually doing this attack, I would be, because you should definitely be using your strongest commanders to attack players, not foreign castles. But I'll be using this commander because it's fine for demonstration purposes. So first off, you're not going to be using scaling ladders. You are going to be using full ruby tools when you attack another player, because they, unlike NPCs, can change their defense setups. So, let's see, this guy has 157 wall in the middle. What tools is he using? He is using 2 wall tools, and he has 1 slot spare, so he could get an extra 60% maximum for wall because he's not using the optimal tool here, and he's not using any tool here. That's 10% more he can get in this slot, 50% in that slot. So, I am going to do whatever this number is to reduce that to 0, plus 60%. So, for 17 we need 9, plus 3 because these do 20% each. We're going to be using 12 breaching towers. Now, if we look, he has less over here, but again, we're going to still use 12. Oh, sorry, I'm using the wrong commander. Make sure you're always using the right commander. So, I actually estimated he had higher than he actually did, so we can actually reduce this to just 220. So now, let's make sure we have that number on both flanks as well. Now, should we reduce both or ranged soldiers' defense strengths? Well, let's check on Central first. He looks to be using almost entirely melee, so we are going to be reducing ranged soldiers' defense strengths. Now again, remember how, let's save this setup, how we looked to his wall to determine what his maximum wall is. We're going to do the same with ranged soldiers' defense strengths. he has an arrow slit here, and he could get an extra 140% ranged soldier's defense strengths. So, what we do is do however much ranged soldier's defense strengths, we want to put that many tools to reduce it to 0, plus 140%. So it looks like we would need... So he has 230, so that's 334, 374. So what is that? 23? Nope. 25? Okay, 25. So we are going to put 25 mantlets on each side. Again, you're going to be putting more if you're facing a more powerful Castellan. And remember, gate reduction. He has 228% gate protection. Let's save our preset and look at the report. He could be getting 15% more because he's using a suboptimal gate tool. So, we are going to go to our best gate tools. And 228 plus 15 is 243, I believe. So, that should be 13 heavy rams we'll need. So, now you can just do this, and you're going to want to do this on most waves of the attack. And remember, I'm using the wrong commander, so we need to fix that, but it's such a small difference to gate protections that we don't actually need to fix it. So we are going to update preset, and then copy this on most of our waves. We could switch it up, and you are going to want to switch this up, so you can get some moat reduction. Remember, we are going to want to make sure that his moat protection, his maximum, we want to negate that. So remember, save preset, we don't want to lose our progress on the attack. And now, we are going to look at his moat protection and tools. He is using an 80% tool, and he could be using a 110% tool. So what we are going to do on the wave that he the second wave, because you usually want to do half ranged, half moat tools, we are going to look, so he could get 30% more than what he's currently using. We need 10 boulders right now, and we need 2 extra to couple that 30% extra. We'd put 12 boulders on each flank. Now, one mistake I did is that I put ranged in the central. You can do this, but you will suffer in the courtyard, so I'm going to actually replace my ranged soldiers with melee soldiers. Another important thing to do if you're doing this is to make sure you've replaced the mantlets with boulders, because mantlets are useless if you're attacking with melee soldiers. So again, replace as much of these with melee as I can. I'm going to be using mainly ranged, so I'm going to keep the mantlets. Then, if you were actually sending an attack, you're going to repeat wave 1, what you're using for wave 1 in wave 3, and what you're using for wave 2 in wave 4. And again, make sure to always be using the actual proper commander. Because if you're not, and you accidentally send it off with the wrong commander, your attack will be absolutely decimated. So, this is basically the guide. I'm not going to actually send this attack, but if I did, I'd want to be making sure that I'm using fast travel feathers. And that's basically a guide on how to attack weak NPCs, more powerful NPCs, and other players. Also, one technique that you should know is you can toolborn an enemy by simply putting 1 troop on each flank for all 4 waves. What this does is this gets rid of their tools and then just puts some more troops into center to have enough to actually sense attack. You need like 32, and Ryugo already put some, so like just put 28. This is more than you need, but just to be safe. And if I wanted to waste this guy's tools when he was online, I'd sense this attack, and this would destroy whatever troops he had on. This is generally considered a very cheap strategy, and you're not going to want to do it if A, supplier is active and is likely to be online because he can just counterattack, B, if he's in an anywhere near decent powerful alliance because they will probably declare war on you for tool warning, or C, if you don't want to just be a jerk and waste other people's tools for no reason. Legitimate reasons to use this include if you're sending another attack and you want to discourage them from using defense tools, you can launch an attack like this to land just before your actual attack lands. This is still considered a relatively cheap strategy, but if you are in a war, this can be helpful. Another reason is just, if you're in a war and you think this player is going to be offline, you can send a toolborn into the middle of the night to waste their tools. I do not advocate toolborning, as I think it is a cheap strategy, but you can do it if you feel that you want to, and it would be beneficial. Just know that many alliances, particularly powerful ones, will declare on you for toolborning. And this video has gone on way too long, so I hope that helped you for level 70 PvP, and just attacking in general. And bye.